I'm 37 years old, and for the past 2 years, I'd been in what I thought was a solid relationship with Rebecca, who's 34. About 14 months ago, she and her 9-year-old daughter Sophie moved into my house, a place I'd purchased 5 years before we even met. The deed had my name on it, the mortgage payments came from my account, and every brick belonged to me. That detail would matter more than I ever imagined. Sophie's father had disappeared when she was barely a toddler, one of those deadbeat dads who couldn't handle responsibility. I genuinely believed I was doing something honorable by stepping into that role, giving this kid the stable father figure she desperately needed. Looking back, my intentions were good, but I was blind to what was actually happening under my own roof. About 4 months before everything exploded, Sophie developed this peculiar Sunday routine. Every single week, she'd find me in the morning with the same request: could we go see a movie? Sometimes it was animated films, other times just whatever happened to be playing at the theater. The specific movie never seemed to matter much, but the day absolutely did. "Mommy needs her nap time," Sophie would explain with the earnestness only a 9-year-old can muster. "The house has to be quiet so she can rest properly." The first few times, I found it endearing. Here was this kid who wanted to spend time with me, and Rebecca got a few hours to decompress. It seemed like the perfect arrangement for everyone involved. But as the weeks rolled on, the pattern became rigid and non-negotiable. When I suggested we could catch a Saturday matinee instead, Sophie would shake her head firmly. "No, it has to be Sunday. That's when Mommy needs her quiet time." If I proposed doing something else entirely, maybe the park or an arcade, she'd get visibly upset. Mommy specifically said movies would work best. The whole thing started feeling orchestrated, but I couldn't quite put my finger on why. One evening, I casually brought it up with Rebecca. "Why does Sophie always insist on Sunday movies? It's like clockwork now." Rebecca's response came fast and defensive. "I don't know. Kids like routines. Is spending time with my daughter suddenly a problem for you?" The guilt landed exactly as she'd intended. I dropped the subject and continued our Sunday tradition without further questions. Last Sunday started like all the others. Sophie and I headed to the theater to watch some animated film about talking animals. We got popcorn, she laughed at all the jokes, and afterward, we stopped for ice cream because the afternoon was still young. By the time we pulled into my driveway, it was nearly 4 o'clock. I walked through the front door calling out our arrival. "We're home." The house absorbed my voice with an eerie silence. Then I heard it, sounds coming from upstairs, from my bedroom, sounds that had nothing to do with sleeping. My stomach twisted into a knot. You know that horrible moment when your brain understands exactly what's happening but desperately tries to construct alternative explanations. I climbed those stairs with my heart pounding against my ribs. My bedroom door stood slightly ajar. Through the gap, I could see Rebecca with Marcus, my neighbor from 3 houses down, a married man with 2 teenage kids of his own. They were in my bed, in my house, completely absorbed in each other. I stood there for maybe 10 seconds, just processing the sheer audacity. Then I cleared my throat, loud enough to shatter their private moment. The scrambling that followed would have been comical in different circumstances. Rebecca grabbed desperately at the sheets while her face transformed from ecstasy to horror. Marcus lunged for his pants and promptly tripped over them, crashing into my nightstand. "Get out," I said. My voice came out eerily calm. "Both of you. Now." Rebecca's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "Wait, this isn't, we can talk about this, we can. Get out of my house." Marcus snatched up his remaining clothes and practically sprinted past me, half-dressed with his shoes clutched in his hands. He couldn't even meet my eyes. Coward. Rebecca sat on my bed that I'd now have to burn, with the sheet wrapped around her like some kind of shield. "Baby, please, just let me explain. How long?" "What? How long have you been using your daughter as a distraction so you could sleep with him in my house?" She actually looked offended. "Don't bring her into this. You brought her into this. You've been sending your 9-year-old to manipulate me out of the house every Sunday for months so you could cheat. Sophie's been your accomplice. It's not like that. 4 months. She's been asking me to take her to movies every Sunday for 4 months. That's 16 Sundays. 16 times you orchestrated this." Rebecca started crying, but the tears felt calculated. I didn't mean for it to happen. Marcus was just being neighborly, helping fix things around here. Around my house. The house I allowed you to live in. This is my home too, she said with shocking conviction. Something clicked in my head at those words. No. It's not. Pack your things. You're leaving. You can't just kick us out. Watch me. I went downstairs where Sophie sat in the living room, completely absorbed in her melting ice cream and the television. She had no idea that her entire world was about to shift. My heart broke for her because none of this was her fault. She was just a child being manipulated by her own mother. But I also knew with absolute certainty that I couldn't let them stay. I called my friend Daniel, who practices law, and left him a voicemail explaining everything. Then I sat down and waited for Rebecca to come downstairs. 3 days later, my life had become unrecognizable. Rebecca finally descended that Sunday evening, her eyes red and swollen from crying. She tried to sit beside me on the couch. I immediately moved away. We need to talk about this like adults, she said. Adults don't cheat on their partners in the partner's bed while using their kid as cover. I made a mistake, but you can't just throw us out onto the street. My daughter lives here. Your daughter shouldn't have been weaponized for your affair. Don't you dare blame her for this. I'm not blaming her. I'm blaming you. You're the one who turned Sunday movies into your affair schedule. Rebecca shifted tactics, her voice going soft and pleading. Look, I know what I did was wrong. I'm genuinely sorry. But think about Sophie. She's settled here. This is her home. Her school is nearby. You can't uproot her because of my mistake. You should have thought about that before you started sleeping with Marcus. So that's it. 2 years together and you're just done. You cheated on me. Repeatedly. You planned it, orchestrated it, used your child to make it happen. Yeah, I'm done. Her softness evaporated instantly. Fine. But we have tenant rights. You can't just kick us out overnight. That's when things got legally complicated. Daniel called me back Monday morning with news I didn't want to hear. Technically, because Rebecca had lived in my house for over a year, she'd established tenancy. I couldn't simply change the locks and toss her belongings onto the lawn, no matter how satisfying that image was. I had to follow proper eviction procedures. Fortunately, my state has fairly landlord-friendly laws, and I had clear documentation proving I'd owned the house before she moved in. There was no lease agreement because I'd never charged her rent, she just contributed occasionally to groceries and utilities. Give her 30 days written notice to vacate, Daniel advised. I typed up the notice Monday afternoon and handed it to Rebecca with as much formality as I could muster. You have 30 days. Find somewhere else to live. She read the document and actually laughed. 30 days to find a new place, pack everything, and move my daughter. That's not happening. Then I'll file for formal eviction, and you can explain to a judge why you deserve to stay in your ex-boyfriend's house after cheating on him. Ex-boyfriend. We're not breaking up. Yes, we are. Effective immediately. You don't get to decide that alone. Pretty sure I do when you're the one who cheated. Rebecca tried negotiating. Maybe she could stay in the guest room for a few months while searching for affordable housing. Maybe we could try couples counseling. Maybe I could help with her security deposit since I was forcing this move. Each suggestion demonstrated more entitlement than the last. No to all of it. 30 days. That's generous considering I could have called the police on you and your married boyfriend for trespassing. It's not trespassing if I live here. You won't for long. Sophie had been at school during most of this confrontation. When she came home Monday afternoon, Rebecca had apparently told her some sanitized version, we might be moving soon. Nothing about why. That evening, Sophie approached me looking utterly confused. Are you mad at us? God, that question destroyed me. No, sweetheart. I'm not mad at you at all. This is grown-up stuff. But Mommy said we have to leave because you don't want us here anymore. Of course she did. Making me the villain came naturally to Rebecca. Your mom and I are having some problems. Adult problems. Sometimes people need to live separately, but none of this is your fault, okay? You didn't do anything wrong. Sophie's eyes filled with tears. Was it because I asked for too many movies? Jesus. This kid. No, not even close. I loved taking you to movies. That was always fun. This has nothing to do with you. Rebecca appeared at the top of the stairs. Sweetie, come up here. Let's give him some space. The way she emphasized him, like I was some stranger who'd invaded her home. Tuesday brought an unexpected text from Marcus's wife, Linda. She'd discovered everything. Apparently, Marcus had confessed Monday night after she noticed his car parked strangely on Sunday and heard neighbors gossiping. She was filing for divorce. Her message read, I heard what happened. I'm sorry. My husband is garbage and your girlfriend isn't much better. If you need me to testify for your eviction, I will. I saved that message. Might need it. Wednesday morning, Rebecca went fully aggressive. She started making demands about compensation for her contributions to our household. I want money for all the cleaning and cooking I did. For the childcare costs you saved by having me here instead of hiring help. You what? I'm serious. You owe me. I gave up 2 years of my life for this relationship. I could have been building something with someone else. You were building something with Marcus. Don't be crass. I deserve financial support while I transition to a new living situation. You deserve nothing. You're lucky I'm giving you 30 days instead of 3. She threatened to hire a lawyer. Said she'd fight the eviction and drag this out as long as possible. Fine. I could play that game too. I called Daniel back and started official eviction proceedings through the courts. We filed everything properly with documented evidence of the infidelity, the lack of any lease agreement, and my sole ownership of the property. Daniel assured me this should be straightforward, though straightforward doesn't necessarily mean fast. Meanwhile, living in the same house became unbearable. Rebecca acted like nothing had changed. She still used the kitchen, still did her laundry, still parked in the driveway like she owned the place. Sophie kept trying to talk to me, but Rebecca would physically pull her away whenever I came near. I started sleeping in the guest room and bought new locks for my bedroom door to install the moment they left. I felt like a stranger in my own house. Thursday, Rebecca suggested I should help with her moving costs since I was the one ending things. The audacity of this woman knew no bounds. The next 3 weeks were the longest of my life. The 30-day notice period hadn't even expired yet, and every day felt like torture. First, Rebecca stopped contributing anything to household expenses. No groceries, no utilities, nothing. Her reasoning, why should I pay for a house you're kicking me out of? So I changed the Wi-Fi password. Petty. Maybe. Satisfying. Absolutely. She exploded. My daughter needs internet for school. Then pay your share of the bill. I'm not paying for anything here anymore. Then Sophie can do homework at the library. Rebecca actually called me abusive for changing the Wi-Fi password in my own house. But it gets worse. Last week, she invited her sister Madison to stay with us. Didn't ask permission, just sent me a text while I was at work. My sister is coming to help me pack and look for apartments. She'll be staying in the guest room. The guest room I was currently sleeping in. I texted back immediately, no. She's already on her way. I left work early and arrived home just as Madison was unloading her car. I approached her directly. You're not staying here. This isn't a hotel. Madison looked genuinely confused. My sister said it was fine. Your sister doesn't own this house. I do. And she's actively being evicted, so no, you're not moving in. Rebecca came outside. You're being ridiculous. She can visit during reasonable hours and then leave. She's not staying overnight. Where am I supposed to sleep then? Madison asked. Not my problem. Maybe your sister should have thought about inconveniencing her family before she cheated on her boyfriend. Apparently, Rebecca had told Madison some story about us having mutual problems and naturally growing apart. She'd conveniently omitted the affair. Madison's face when I explained the real situation was almost worth the whole ordeal. She packed up her car and left within 20 minutes. Haven't seen her since. I did get a nasty text from their mother calling me heartless for tearing apart her daughter's life over a small indiscretion. A small indiscretion. For months of planned, deliberate cheating using her own child as cover was a small indiscretion. I didn't even dignify that with a response. Marcus has been avoiding me aggressively. He crosses the street when he sees me walking. Linda served him divorce papers, and neighborhood gossip says he's been staying at some extended stay hotel. I heard his kids aren't speaking to him. Rebecca has been cycling between trying to be sweet, which is manipulation, and being openly hostile, which is her true nature. One day she makes my favorite dinner and asks if we can talk things through. The next, she tells Sophie that I'm being mean and unfair. Sophie is the worst part of all this. The kid doesn't fully understand what's happening. She knows we're moving but not why. She keeps asking if she did something wrong, and it breaks my heart every single time. I tried explaining in age-appropriate terms that her mom and I had grown-up problems and sometimes people need to live separately, but it's not her fault at all. She cried. Said she didn't want to leave, that she liked living here and liked her school and liked her room. Rebecca immediately jumped in. See what you're doing to her. Is your pride really worth traumatizing a child? I'm not traumatizing her. You did that when you used her to cover your affair. I never asked her to lie. You trained her to get me out of the house every Sunday like clockwork. Same result. 2 weeks ago, we had our day in court. Rebecca showed up with some legal aid attorney she'd managed to find. The lawyer tried arguing that because Rebecca had been living in my house for over a year and had a minor child, she should be granted additional time to relocate. Daniel presented our documentation. I was the sole owner. I provided proper 30-day notice. Rebecca had contributed nothing to actual housing costs, no rent, no mortgage payments, and a written statement from me detailing the infidelity. The judge looked exhausted. She probably deals with situations like this every single day. Ma'am, is it true you were having an affair in this man's home? Rebecca's lawyer started to object. That's not relevant to tenancy. Ma'am, I'm asking if it's true. Long pause. Yes, but. And you used your daughter to facilitate this affair by having her request activities that would remove the homeowner from the property during your encounters. I never explicitly told her to. That's not what I asked. Another uncomfortable pause. She liked going to movies with him. How convenient. The judge turned to me. Sir, you've provided 30 days notice per state statute. That period ends in 9 days. Ma'am, you have those remaining 9 days to vacate the premises. After that, the sheriff can assist with your removal if necessary. Rebecca's lawyer tried to object again. The judge shut it down immediately. Your client engaged in behavior that destroyed the relationship while living in property she doesn't own. She's been given proper notice. This eviction is granted. Outside the courtroom, Rebecca was furious. You're really going to let the courts drag my daughter out of her home? You should have thought about Sophie before you slept with Marcus. I hate you. The feeling's mutual. Her lawyer advised her to comply with the order to avoid sheriff involvement and additional legal fees. She finally started actually looking for apartments and immediately ran into the problem that most places want first month's rent, last month's rent, and a security deposit up front. She didn't have that kind of cash saved. Shocking. Truly shocking that being financially dependent on your boyfriend while cheating on him doesn't work out well. She tried negotiating one more time. Could she stay just 2 more weeks past the court-mandated date to get the deposit money together? No. What am I supposed to do? You should have figured that out 4 months ago before you started this. What about my daughter? Sophie is your responsibility, not mine. Not anymore. Rebecca tried one final manipulation. She sent me a long text about how she'd made a terrible mistake but I was overreacting. How the affair just happened and didn't mean anything. How she'd end it immediately, as if it hadn't already ended. How we could work through this if I just gave her one more chance. I screenshotted the text and sent it to Daniel with the caption, "Documentation of continued manipulation attempts." 3 days ago, Rebecca asked if I'd write her a reference letter for rental applications. The absolute nerve. A reference for what? Being a great tenant. You stopped paying your share of bills. You cheated on your landlord. You're being legally evicted. What kind of reference did you expect? You're such a bitter person. I'm practical. You made your choices. Deal with the consequences. Yesterday, she finally started packing. She hired some cheap moving company that's coming tomorrow, the absolute last day of the court-ordered period. Cutting it dangerously close. Sophie has been quiet, barely talking to me anymore. Rebecca has clearly been poisoning that relationship, turning me into the villain in whatever story she's telling. Part of me wants to sit Sophie down and explain everything, but she's 9 years old. She doesn't need to know her mother is that kind of person yet. She'll figure it out eventually. Tonight is my last night sharing a house with them. Tomorrow they'll be gone, and new locks are getting installed tomorrow afternoon. Pest control is scheduled for Wednesday to make sure they didn't leave any unwelcome surprises. I'm definitely burning my old mattress and buying a completely new one. Linda stopped by yesterday with a bottle of bourbon and an apology card. She didn't have to do that, her husband's mess wasn't her fault. Thank you for handling this with more grace than I would have, she said. Grace. I'm not sure I've been that graceful, but compared to burning their belongings or doing something actually crazy, maybe I have been. 9 more hours. Then they're gone, and I can finally start feeling like my house is mine again. 2 weeks have passed since they left, and I'm still processing everything. Moving day was incredibly tense. The movers showed up at 9 in the morning, a budget operation with 2 guys driving a truck that looked like it might die at any moment. Rebecca directed them around like she was coordinating a military operation, making absolutely certain they got every single item that belonged to her. I mostly stayed out of the way and let them work. Sophie sat on the front steps looking utterly miserable, and it broke my heart, but I couldn't let that change what needed to happen. Around noon, Rebecca approached me carrying a box. These are yours. Found them mixed in with my stuff. It was a box of old photographs from our relationship, trips we'd taken, holidays we'd celebrated, normal couple activities. Sophie appeared in many of them. Seeing those images hurt more than I'd expected. Thanks, I said, taking the box. I'll probably burn these too. This is really it, she asked. You're really letting me leave with nothing. You're leaving with everything you came with. Your belongings, your car, your kid. That's not nothing. I meant money. Support. Something to help us get started. You mean the money you think I owe you for the affair you conducted in my house? Don't be like this. I'm not being like anything. You made choices. These are the consequences. She tried one final appeal. What about her? She nodded toward Sophie. Don't you care what happens to her? Low blow, even for Rebecca. Of course I care, but she's not my responsibility. She's yours. And you should have considered her welfare before you did what you did. You're a cold person. I'm a person who got cheated on and disrespected in his own home repeatedly for months. There's a difference. The movers finished around 2 in the afternoon with everything loaded up. Rebecca's car was packed completely full with whatever didn't fit in the truck. Sophie climbed into the passenger seat, still refusing to look at anyone. Rebecca stood in my driveway for another moment. You know this isn't over, right? I'll tell everyone what you did, kicking out a woman and her child. People will know what kind of person you are. Go ahead. I've got court documents, text messages, and witnesses. Tell whoever you want. The truth doesn't change. She got in her car and drove away. The moving truck followed behind her, and just like that, they were gone from my life. The locksmith arrived an hour later and changed every lock in the house, front door, back door, garage, every deadbolt. $400, but worth every penny for the peace of mind. I got a new garage door opener too, completely locking her out of my life. I spent the rest of that day just walking through my house. It felt different, empty, but also lighter. Like a weight I didn't realize I'd been carrying suddenly got lifted. For the next few days, I kept finding evidence of them everywhere. A hair elastic under the couch. One of Sophie's toys behind the television. A coffee mug with Rebecca's lipstick still on the rim hidden in the back of a cabinet. I threw it all away. Linda's divorce is moving forward. I heard Marcus tried to reconcile, but she's completely done with him. Good for her. She deserves better than that coward. Rebecca found an apartment, barely. It's in a rougher part of town, much smaller, nowhere near the good school district. She sent me one final text about it, "Hope you're happy. My daughter's new school is terrible. This is on you." I blocked her number after that. I don't need the guilt trips. Sophie is the one I genuinely feel bad for. She didn't ask for any of this, didn't ask for a mother who'd cheat and use her as cover, didn't ask to get uprooted from a house and school she liked. But I couldn't sacrifice my own sanity and self-respect to fix her mother's mistakes. Some mutual friends reached out. Rebecca had apparently spun quite the story, telling people I'd kicked her out over minor issues and was being vindictive. One friend actually called to lecture me about compassion until I sent her the court documents. Oh. Oh wow. She left out a lot. Yeah, it's pretty messed up. Sorry I judged without hearing your side. It's fine. Just glad the truth is out. I lost a couple friends who believed Rebecca's version without bothering to ask for mine. That stung, but it also showed me who my real friends actually were. Marcus still avoids me completely. Good. His oldest kid gave me a respectful nod last week though, which was unexpected. I guess he knows his father is a piece of work. Work has been a good distraction. My boss noticed I seemed stressed and gave me an extra personal day without prying. I appreciated that discretion. I'm sleeping in my own bedroom again with a new mattress, new sheets, new everything. It feels like mine again. I went a little crazy at the home goods store, but whatever. Fresh start. I had the carpets professionally cleaned and deep cleaned the entire house. I wanted every trace of that situation completely erased. The hardest part is the quiet. The house is just so quiet now. No kid running around, no girlfriend cooking or watching television. Just me. It's what I wanted, my space back, but it's also lonely as hell. I started looking at dating apps but deleted them after an hour. I'm not ready. Don't know when I will be. The trust issues are very real. Daniel sent his final bill. $2,800 total for everything, consultations, filing fees, court appearances. Worth every cent, but ouch. Still cheaper than letting Rebecca stay and dealing with continued chaos. A letter came for Rebecca last week, forwarded to my address. She'd apparently used it on some job applications before moving out. I almost sent it to her new place but decided against it. Not my circus anymore. I wrote, "Return to sender," and dropped it back in the mailbox. The property value wasn't affected, thankfully. I checked with my real estate agent friend. The house is worth the same as before. I thought about selling and truly starting fresh somewhere else, but this is my house. I bought it. I built a life here before Rebecca ever entered the picture. I'm not letting her chase me out of my own home. Financially, I'm perfectly fine. The mortgage is the same as it always was, easily affordable on my income alone. I'm actually saving more money now without supporting 2 extra people. Silver lining, I guess. Emotionally, I'm still working through it. Lots of anger. Lots of, how did I miss the signs, thoughts. But also relief, and a weird sense of pride that I handled everything without doing anything crazy or illegal. Some people have asked if I regret being so harsh with the eviction timeline. Honestly, no. Rebecca had 30 days. She knew exactly why she was being asked to leave. She could have spent that time actively searching for housing instead of trying to manipulate me into letting her stay. Others have asked about Sophie and whether I'll stay in touch. I won't. It sucks, but I can't maintain a relationship with a kid whose mother I just evicted after she cheated on me. That's too messy, too painful. Sophie will be fine eventually. Rebecca will probably tell her some version of events that makes me the villain, and there's nothing I can do about that. Linda actually became a friend through all this. We've grabbed coffee twice now. Just 2 people who got betrayed by the same situation. She's handling her divorce remarkably well. Says her kids are her priority and everything else is secondary. I respect that approach immensely. I learned a lot from this experience. Red flags I should have noticed earlier, like how Rebecca never wanted to split expenses proportionally. How she always had excuses for not finding a better job. How she'd get defensive whenever I asked simple questions about her day or her plans. I also learned that cheating isn't just about the physical act. It's the lying, the manipulation, the using other people, including your own kid, to cover your tracks. That's what made this absolutely unforgivable. People keep asking if there's any chance we'll reconcile. Absolutely not. 0% chance. Rebecca nuked that relationship from orbit. There's no coming back from what she did. Moving forward, I'm focused on rebuilding. My house feels like mine again. My life feels like mine again. I'm not looking for another relationship anytime soon. Maybe eventually, but right now I'm good being alone. To everyone who offered support and validation, thank you. It really helped knowing I wasn't crazy for handling things this way, that I wasn't some heartless person for evicting them. You confirmed what I already knew deep down: I deserved better than what she gave me. And to anyone going through something similar, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't let people make you feel guilty for having standards and boundaries. And definitely don't let them use their kids as shields for their terrible behavior. That's it. That's the end of this absolute mess of a chapter. I'm closing it and moving forward with my life.